Meeting on the air first and third Sunday, 7 p.m., W5FC. W5FC.
Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Anyone need to use the repeater before we begin the 9 p.m. Skynet? Is KF5 TDS. My name is Billy, and I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the pro sign break in your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? The directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me. And stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.880 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, audio video links are available online. Go to www.w5fc.org right now for the complete list. And remember to tell others about this popular net. You can now check into the net electronically by going to the club website, w5fc.org. Look for tonight's announcement and click on the hot link to check in. We will acknowledge you on the air, and don't worry, if you want to check in via voice, we will continue to do that too, over air and on Echolink. All amateur operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. This net is 90 minutes long and is structured in several parts. General announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas, where and when you can look through a telescope, National Space Society events, recent astronomical discoveries, discussion topic of the evening, what's up, space exploration and space history, constellation of the week, space launches of the week, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days, astronomical Q&A, and our semi-3 rounds. Amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. So let me check that link list. We currently have the following people checked in via w5fc.org. Welcome, KE5ITX, Tom. KE5JIT, Randy. WB5OZL, Brenda. Myself. K5MCD, Cody. Cody is in Dallas. K5KTX, Kelly in Point. N5DB, Bill in Irving. Alright, so we'll go ahead with voice check-in. So at this time, I'll turn the net over to my alternate net control, Tom, KE5I6, and he'll do the voice check-ins. This is from KF5 TDS.
Thank you, Billy, and this is KE5ICX. I'm your alternate net control. I'm Tom, Tango Oscar Mike. I'll go ahead and take short time check-ins. If you are one of those who's not checked in electronically, then please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name and where you're transmitting from. Short time only, please.
audio, KG5 UFR, Jacob Dallas short time, go traffic.
God, he's got terrible audio. Okay, I've got KG5UFR over in Dallas. I didn't get the name. Could you give me your name again, please? Your audio is kind of distorted this evening.
All right, well, time is, thanks for the signal report. I'm trying to work on that, figure out what's going on. The name here is Jacob, Julia Alpha, Charlie Alpha Bravo, KG5 UFR.
All right, thank you, Jacob. And I think you're just overmodulating somehow. If you could, whatever you need to do to back it off, it's clipping on when you transmit. That's all. Your signal is good. It's just the audio that's a bit wonky. Okay. Anyone else? Short time. All right, hearing none, let's go ahead and go to general check-ins over here. Please come now with your call sign phonetically, please. Your name and where you're transmitting from.
This is Whiskey Bravo number 4, Mike Foxtrot India, WB for MFI, Ted Dallas Low Power. This is Kilo Echo 5, Echo November, Eric in Plano.
November 5, Oscar Foxtrot, Quaid.
This is Alpha Golf 5 Papa Mike, Rich in Rockwall, AG 5 PM. Dallas.
Okay, let me go ahead and get the check-ins. Electronically, we've picked up, I think we checked in Bill, but I'll do it anyway. N5BB, Bill over in Irving. AG9SG, Antonio in Oak Cliff. I got NV5F, Virginia over in Fort Worth. I've got checked in here by voice. WB4MFI, Tad Dallas, short time. I'm not long, flow power. Jeez, I know better than that. KE5EN, Eric in Plano. N5OF, Clay in Mesquite. AG5PM, Rich in Rockwell. And then I got Jamie, I think it's Jamie over in Dallas. You were cutting in and out. You had a bit of a weak signal, I think. If you came in after Rich and it sounds like your name is Jamie or close, would you please come again with your call sign? Okay, I'll leave that a question mark. I probably didn't give you enough information. If you don't hear your call on this next round, or you didn't hear it on this round that I just did, then we'll pick you up on this next round. My, what a day I'm having. Okay, Tongue Twisted is my middle name today. So I'll take additional check-ins. Please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from. No one? I think I scared everyone off. Well, let's see. I've got Chaz, KF5JHA. He's just checked in from somewhere in the Milky Way in the solar system. Anyone else over there before I go to Echolink?
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill Farmers Branch.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas, although I'm going to have to stay in listen-only mode for this net.
Okay, I teased two more out. I got KF5ZBL, Mr. Bill over in Farmers Branch, NT5TM, Tony in Dallas, and of course, oh yeah, I got Chaz earlier. Very good. Okay, I'm going to move over to Echolink real quick. If you're over on Echolink and you would like to check in, you can either put it in the chat box or just check in by voice. I'll give you extra time. Echolink only, please.
LQD in Dallas.
White LX, Andy in Carrollton.
All right, looks like the chat is moving along. I think everyone else has checked in. I've got KF5LQD, that's Jimmy in Dallas, KI5YLX, Andy in Carrollton. Anyone else, any mode, would like to check in, please come now with your call sign phonetically. Okay, I've got one more over air through the electronic check-in, KI5SDS. That's Jeff over in Richardson. Welcome, Jeff. Anyone else before I hand it back to net control? All right, Miss Billy, we got 21 check-ins so far. I'll send it back to you, KE5ICX.
Very much, Tom, and welcome to all who have checked in to Skynet. All right, let's get started with general announcements. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? These can be ham, astronomical, safe, or licensed hams. If you have an announcement for this evening's net, please come now with your call sign. But I do have some announcements over here. Tonight's Space Odyssey, Atomic Rulers of the World from 1965. GeekNet will be this Monday at 7 p.m. Any geeky topic is welcome. Got a favorite butterfly? Tuesday, September 3rd, DARC meeting is up to us. It's a show and tell. What would you like to bring? No spiders, please. AMSAT Radio Amateur Satellite Group has 3 nets available to Dallas residents. On Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central Time, you can check into the National AMSAT net. Learn all about amateur satellites and how you can use them in amateur radio. The National AMSAT net will bring the most up-to-date information on amateur satellites currently in use or new ones coming online. You will need Echolink installed and you registered. You can find the net under Groups and AMSAT. Also, a live audio link is available on their website at www.amsatnet.com. This net originates in Houston, Texas. 2 local nets are available in Dallas. Both of these nets encourage active check-ins. You can ask questions of the net control as well as others checked in. AMSAT Net East, Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, is every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on this repeater, 146.880 megahertz, with a PL tone of 110.9. Tuesdays, Tom and first Tuesday of the month is the DARC Club Night, so no AMSAT East on that night. Dallas AMSAT Net West is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, 147.140 megahertz, with a PL tone of 110.9 and a positive offset. DARC hosts a number of nets on Monday evenings at 6 p.m. Check the w5fc.org website. As mentioned, this Monday is GeekNet. All of the hosted nets on the DARC on Mondays are at 7 p.m. First week, Ham Fixin's Net, Cooking Net. Second week is MCOM 101, Emergency Communications. Third week is Ham Fixin's Net, Second Helping. And fourth week is GeekNet, Geek Beyond Ham Radio. This Monday, Geek Out Beyond Ham Radio. We expand topics to include computers, science, space, news of the weird, and much more. No topic is off limits, just as long as it's geeky. Tony NT5PM is net control. And if there's a fifth, there's a surprise net. Fridays is CERT City Simulation, 8 p.m. Learn about emergency radio communications via CERT-trained amateur radio operators. Melissa, KI5GRH, is usually the net control. This is the most disaster-prone city in the universe every Friday. CERT City, all are welcome. Saturdays are the Night of Nets, where we keep the airwaves buzzing until midnight. Here's the lineup. TechNet, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Q&A on all things ham radio related. There's also a swap meet, Rookie's Corner, news and information, and ham radio events and contests, alternating net control each week. Skynet from 9 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. Astronomy, space, and space exploration are the topics. Also, news and information, satellite passes, and the constellation of the week. Join this popular net about ham's second most favorite hobby, astronomy, alternating net control. You're going movie net from 10:30 to midnight. Will it be a hit or the dreaded miss? Thumbs up or thumbs down? You make the call. We watch a science fiction movie and then review it for about 90 minutes. We discuss plot, characterization, special effects, music, and answer the question, will I dare watch this movie ever again? Everyone is welcome to check in, even if you haven't seen the movie, which might actually be a plus. First and third Sundays, Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air. What's going on in your ham world? Tell us. Also, learn about the club that maintains the popular repeater, the Dallas Amateur Radio Club. Club news and information, events, activities, including club meetings, lecture and lab, public service events, contests, and just general discussion. Everyone can check into this net. And daily is the ARRLNet National Traffic System Training Net every night at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Learn how message traffic is handled on this formal training net. Newbies are welcome to check in, as this is a training net. The NCS also conducts an evening net on the Irving Whiskey Alpha 5 Charlie Kilo Foxtrot repeater, 146.72 megahertz at 9:30 p.m. All are welcome to check in on any or all of these nets. And as promised, after Skynet at 10:30 is the Afterglow movie net. So at this time, I'm going to turn the net over to Tom, KE5ICX, if you will give us tonight's Afterglow info from KFI-CBS.
Why, thank you, Billy, and this is KE5ICX again. Here it is, the highly accurate information on tonight's Afterglow movie, Atomic Rulers of the World from, believe it or not, 1965. Starman, better known by his friends as Supergiant in Japan, appeared before the Homeowners Association on the Emerald Planet. There was yet another complaint from the residents of the Metropole, a neighboring country hell-bent on irradiating planet Earth and, by default, the Emerald Planet. There was no doubt this was going down as a major topic at the meeting. The starfish people were already creating a ruckus over the thing, and the tubaloids were blinking their weird lighthouse eyes in disapproval. Starman sighed, knowing he's about to make a trip to Earth again and stop the uranium exposure from destroying all the inhabitants. No, he didn't understand the logic either, but then the starfish and tubaloids weren't all that smart themselves. Unfortunately, they did know how to get on the HOA board, and stupid decisions from the powerful intergalactic organization carried a lot of weight. Join us for this Japanese craptacular Atomic Rulers of the World from 1965, though it looks like it's like from 1935, tonight at 10:30 p.m. That sounds like I made it up, but it seems like that's almost the plot. But at any rate, come join us as we talk about this thing ad nauseum. Back to you, Miss Billy, KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. You can keep up with all the DART events, nets, and activities by going to the club website, w5fc.org. Let's check the hot link board and see who's checked in. Looking at the hot link board, I don't see anybody here that's checked in, but let me return that to Tom, KE5ICX, to see if we have additional voice check-ins from KFI-CBS.
Okay, I can do that. We'll have to streamline this a bit where every time I talk so I can take check-ins during the ANCS portion of these. Okay, just thinking out loud. Anyone else want to join us? Please come with your call sign, phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from.
Kilo 5, India Golf, Mobile, Dale, currently in Dallas, checking in, started checking in earlier, but not sure if my signal got through. Kilo 5.
Kilo Juliet 5, Hotel Mike Alpha, Todd in East Dallas.
Whiskey 5, Bacon, Lettuce, Tomato. Bill in Garland.
Okay, I think we've got 4 check-ins. I've got 3 for sure. The first one is Bill. I think I've got K5IG, Bill in Dallas. Is that your correct call, Bill?
November 5, Lima, India Golf, Mobile.
Oh, thank you. Boy, I murdered that one. N5LIG, that's Bill in Dallas. Next, I've got, I believe it was John, but I only got part of your call, K5JDW. It sure sounded like your voice. I'm going to check you in because I think it is you. Next is KJ5HMA, that's Todd in East Dallas. W5BLT, Bill over in Garland, one of the regulars. Anyone else want to check in? Please come down. Okay, we're up 23 check-ins. Back to you, Miss Billy, KE5ICX.
Thank you, and welcome new check-ins to Skynet. Our next up is Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas event, where and when you can look through a telescope. At this time, I will turn the net over to Chaz, KF5JHA. The net is yours from KF5PDS.
Thank you, Billy. Good evening, everyone. This is Chaz, KF5JHA. The next Texas Astronomical Society, well, actually, the last Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting was last night. It was all about meteors, how to capture them on video, and also maybe how to track them down if they land as a meteorite on the Earth. It was a really nice meeting, and you can actually build your own meteor monitor for about under $300. That's what the speaker was talking about. And the next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be on Friday, September the 27th. The meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas, and also there's a Zoom component. Now, Saturday night public observing sessions continue. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday night, so there could be an opportunity for a live report from the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas public observing sessions. Now, tonight, on the fourth Saturday of the month, the stargating used to be at Rockwall, but due to lack of attendance, it unfortunately has been canceled permanently. Oh, well. Check the TASS website at texasastro.org for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing stations. And this is KF5JHA, back to our let's see now, net control. Oh yeah, it's Billy, KF5PDS.
Thank you, Chaz. Yes, this is KF5PDS, Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, next up is National Space Society events and activities. So at this time, I will turn the net over to Bill, N5CD, the net yours, from KF5CDS.
Thank you, Billy. This is N5BB, November 5 Bravo Bravo. I am the membership director and member at large of the National Space Society North Texas chapter. The National Space Society is a nonprofit group based in the U.S. which is interested in the exploration and development of space and the creation of a spacefaring civilization. The North Texas chapter of the National Space Society meets at 3:30 p.m. on the second Sunday afternoon of each month. The meeting location is Spring Creek Barbecue on the southwest corner of Highway 183 and Beltline Road in Irving. On the last Friday evening of each month, from 6 to 8 p.m., the National Space Society North Texas chapter sponsors a social event called Space Rendezvous. The location is Cheddar's Restaurant, 700 West 635, that's Highway 635, Irving, Texas 75063. This is right east of MacArthur on the eastbound service road of Highway 635 in North Irving. Anyone is welcome to attend and discuss human activities in space with us. No membership in any group is required. Our local National Space Society chapter website is ntx.nss.org. Our group also has an active Facebook page. Just type National Space Society of North Texas into the search box. The next meeting of the National Space The North Texas chapter of the National Space Society will be held at 3:30 p.m. on Sunday, September the 8th, at Spring Creek Barbecue in Irving. The topic will be remote speaker discussing NASA's Mars sample return mission, the status. Our speaker will be Dwayne Washington, the Senior Communication Manager at NASA headquarters. If you have any questions about the National Space Society, please contact Bill Byram, N5BB, at space@byram.net. That's SPACE@BYROM.net. Thank you, N5BB.
Thank you, Bill. That sounds like that's going to be a really great meeting. Next up is recent astronomical discoveries. At this time, I will turn the net over to Brenda, WB5OZL. The net is yours from KF5TDS.
Thank you, Billy. This is WB5OZL. Tonight's article is New View of North Star Reveals Spotted Surface. Researchers using Georgia State University Center for High Angular Resolution Astronomy, that's CHARA, array have identified new details about the size and appearance of the North Star, also known as Polaris. The new research is published in the Astrophysical Journal. Earth's North Pole points to a direction in space marked by the North Star. Polaris is both a navigation aid and a remarkable star in its own right. It is the brightest member of a triple star system and is a pulsating variable star. Polaris gets brighter and fainter periodically as the star's diameter grows and shrinks over a 4-day cycle. Polaris is a kind of star known as a Cepheid variable. Astronomers use these stars as standard candles because their true brightness depends on their period of pulsation. Brighter stars pulsate slower than fainter stars. How bright a star appears in the sky depends on the star's true brightness and the distance to the star. Because we know the true brightness of the Cepheid based on its pulsational period, astronomers can use them to measure the distances to their host galaxies and to infer the expansion rate of the universe. A team of astronomers led by Nancy Evans at the Center for Astrophysics, Harvard and Smithsonian, observed Polaris using the CHARA optical interferometric array of 6 telescopes at Mount Wilson, California. The goal of the investigation was to map the orbit of the close, faint companion that orbits Polaris every 30 years. The small separation and large contrast in brightness between the two stars makes it extremely challenging to resolve the binary system during their closest Evans said. The CHARA array combines the light of 6 telescopes that are spread across the mountaintop at the historic Mount Wilson Observatory. By combining the light, the CHARA array just like a 330-meter telescope to detect the faint comparison as it passed close to Polaris. The observations of Polaris were recorded using the MIRC-X camera, which was built by astronomers at the University of Michigan and Exeter University in the UK. The MIRC-X camera has the remarkable ability to capture details of stellar surfaces. The team successfully tracked the orbit of the close companion and measured changes in the size of the Cepheid as it pulsated. The orbital motion showed that Polaris has a mass 5 times larger than that of the Sun. The images of Polaris showed that it has a diameter 46 times the Sun. The biggest surprise was the appearance of Polaris in close-up images. The Chara observations provided the first glimpse of what the surface of a Cepheid variable looks like. Chara's array false color image of Polaris from April 2021 that reveals large, bright, and dark spots on the surface. Polaris appears to be about 600,000 times than the full moon in the sky. The Chara images revealed large, bright, and dark spots on the surface of Polaris that changed over time, said Gail Schaefer, director of the Chara. The presence of spots and the rotation of the star might be linked to a 120-day variation in measured velocity. We plan to continue imaging Polaris in the future, said John Mornier, an astronomy professor at the University of Michigan. We hope to better understand the mechanism that generates the spots on the surface of Polaris. All right, I think I'll quit there. It's about done. So back to net. This is WB5OZL. Oh, and that article's from ScienceDaily.com.
Thank you, Brenda. All right, next up is discussion topic of the evening. So for tonight's discussion topic, I've chosen the Aurora named Steve. This is an article from NASA.gov dated March 15th, 2018, but we may still be able to see a Steve. So what's in a name? If your name is Strong Thermal Emission Velocity Enhancement, aka Steve, there's quite a bit behind the name. Glowing in mostly purple and green colors, a new celestial phenomenon is sparking the interest of scientists, photographers, and astronauts. The display was initially discovered by a group of citizen scientists who took pictures of the unusual lights and playfully named them Steve. Scientists have since learned more about the purples and greens and have given it a more accurate name, Strong Thermal Emission Velocity Enhancement, which can still be shortened to Steve. A citizen science project called Aurora, funded by NASA and the National Science Foundation, wants your help gathering photos so you can learn more about this mysterious phenomenon. Aurora tracks appearances of auroras and now Steves around the world through users submitting reports and photographs directly on its mobile app and on aurorasaurus.org. Research about Steves is providing a new visual identifier to help track the chemical and physical processes going on in near-Earth space. This information can ultimately help us better understand the space weather near Earth, which can interfere with satellites and communication signals. And there's an image on there, copyright Megan Hoffman, which was used by her permission. So let's open it up for discussion. Does anyone have any questions or comments for tonight's presentation? Please come now with your call sign. Has anybody seen a Steve? Has anybody contributed to aurorasaurus.org? Not hearing anything. Does anybody have any comments on Aurora in general? Has anybody seen one? I know it's impossible sometimes to see Aurora as far down as Texas and Oklahoma. Has anybody seen an Aurora? If so, please come now with your call sign. Not hearing anything. So again, the Aurora named Steve. Be on the lookout for Steve. And then if you ever have a Steve sighting or want to know more about it, you can go to the NASA.gov website. I'm not sure if aurorasaurus.org is still active because that article was 6 years old. But if it still is, you can probably see a lot of cool pictures. But you can read up on Aurora, and maybe one day you'll be fortunate enough to see one. Same here. I've never seen one. So maybe one day we'll all be able to see a Steve. All right, next up is What's Up. So at this time, I'm going to turn the net over to Chaz, KF5JHA. The net is yours from KF5PBS.
Thank you, Billy. Good evening, everyone. This is Chaz, KF5JHA. We call this segment of Skynet What's Up because it's all about what's going on astronomically over the next couple of weeks and beyond. Actually, just to let you know, I have seen Northern Lights from Ohio, where I grew up, and Seattle. I was in Alaska for about 5 days, never saw them there. Let's see now. Saw them a couple of times, I think, in Virginia, and I've only seen them twice here in Texas, and I've been here since '92, which had to be away from the city lights to see them. Okay, Slide Master, slide number 3, please. Today, I was able to take this picture of the sun using a provided solar filter with the ZWO C-Star. It's sort of like a telescopic camera. I had to wait for the clouds to clear a little bit so I can get the shot. The larger sunspot complexes on the sun are so large that you can use your solar eclipse glasses to see them. No optical aid other than just protection of your eyes. The sun is near its 11-year solar maximum. We've talked about the solar maximum and the solar cycle in past Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 4. Now, we've also talked about the predicted nova of the star T Corona Borealis, which may erupt any time over the next month or two. It is currently at a brightness of around 10th magnitude, which is much too faint to see with just your two eyes. But when it goes nova, the T Corona Borealis could become as bright as the North Star. We just had a presentation about the North Star. I can see the North Star with just my two eyes from a very bright, polluted location in Mesquite. So you might be able to pick it off. I'll let you know on Skynet once it goes off. Slide Master, slide number 5, please. On August the 19th, the moon was full. That's just a few days ago. The current phase of the moon is a waning gibbous. On August the 26th, the moon will be at third quarter phase. On September the 2nd, the moon will be new. On September the 5th, the moon is at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth at a distance of 406,211 kilometers. On September the 11th, the moon is at its first quarter phase. On September the 17th, the moon will be full, and there's a partial lunar eclipse. I'll give you more about the partial lunar eclipse on future Skynet. On September the 18th, the moon is at perigee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of 357,286 kilometers. Slide Master, slide number 6. On August the 26th, that's just in a couple of days, there's a conjunction of the moon and the star cluster M45. That's also known as the Pleiades in the eastern morning sky. I've been staying up late taking some pictures with a C-Star, and I've seen the Pleiades. Yes, I can even see the Pleiades with just my two eyes from very, very light polluted skies here in Mesquite. Slide Master, slide number 7. Now, the very next morning on August the 27th, the moon and Jupiter are in conjunction in the eastern morning sky. Now, if you have followed us a few weeks ago, I think it's been about 3 weeks ago, when the planets Jupiter and Mars were in conjunction with each other. Slide Master, slide number 8. And again on the next morning of August the 28th, the moon and Mars are in conjunction in the eastern morning sky. Slide Master, slide number 9. On the night of August 31st and September 1st is the peak of the Aurora meteor shower with around half a dozen meteors per hour. You should always see the most meteors the hour before dawn. Just because that's the side of the Earth that's running into the debris that's left over that's causing the meteors. If you want to get more information about meteors and meteor showers, you can visit the International Meteor Organization at imo.net or the American Meteor Society at amsmeteors.org. Slide Master, slide number 10. And let's talk about 3 more events. On September the 1st, in the early morning east-northeastern sky, there's a conjunction of the moon and the planet Mercury. Mercury's been in the evening sky. It slips around to the morning sky. Slide Master, slide number 11. On September the 2nd, in the early morning east-northeastern morning sky, in very strong twilight, you might see the conjunction of the moon and the minor planet Vesta. You'll need to use a pair of binoculars to see Vesta, maybe even the moon in the strong twilight. Slide Master, slide number 12. On September the 4th, in the western evening sky, the moon switches over to the evening sky, and Moon, Venus, and Juno, the minor planet, they're spread out over a 7-degree field of view in a conjunction. And this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 13. Watching the video version, there's a whole bunch of question marks all over the screen. Now, do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or need a fill on any of the information? Or maybe you just have a general astronomy question. Come now with your call sign if you have a question or need a fill. Okay, hearing nothing. Slide Master, slide number 14. So as the moon wanes, so do these words for this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. It's the only one where humans live. And until next time, actually I'll be doing another Skynet segment in a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is KF5, JHA, Backdoor Net Control, Billy, KF5, PDS. It's all yours.
Thank you very much, Chaz. This is KF5PDS, Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Looking over at our hotlink board, I'm not seeing any spare check-ins, but let me turn it back over to Tom real quick, KE5ICX. If you'll do a quick check-in round, see if we've got anybody over air or on Echolink that wants to check in, and then you have my permission to turn the net over to Kelly for space exploration and space history after a check-in round. So this is the KE5ICX from KF5PDS.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. I'll accept that. I'll take over check-ins first. If you'd like to join us this evening over air, please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from. All right, hearing none, I'll go to Echolink. There are a few new people on there. If you'd like to join us and check in by voice, you can do so now. Echolink only, please. Just listening. So we'll go ahead and go to space exploration and space history. That would be Kelly this week, K5KTX. Miss Kelly, go ahead.
Tom, good evening, everyone. This is K5KTX. Well, a couple of weeks ago, I brought you an update on the Boeing Starliner mission. Well, earlier today, during the news conference, NASA announced that they will return Boeing Starliner to Earth without astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams aboard the spacecraft. The uncrewed return allows NASA and Boeing to continue gathering testing data on Starliner
during its upcoming flight home, while also not accepting more risks than necessary for its crew. Wilmore and Williams, who flew to the International Space Station in June aboard NASA's Boeing crew flight test, have been busy supporting station research, maintenance, and Starliner system testing and data analysis, among other activities. They will continue their work formally as part of the Expedition 7172 crew through February 2025. They will fly home aboard a Dragon spacecraft with 2 other crew members assigned to the agency's SpaceX Crew 9 mission. Starliner is expected to depart from the space station to make a safe, controlled, autonomous re-entry and landing in early September. NASA and Boeing identified helium leaks and experienced issues with the spacecraft reaction control thrusters on June 6 as Starliner approached the space station. Since then, engineering teams have completed a significant amount of work, including reviewing a collection of data, conducting flight and ground testing, hosting independent reviews with agency propulsion experts, and developing various return contingency plans. The uncertainty and lack of expert concurrence does not meet the agency's safety and performance requirements for a human spaceflight, thus prompting NASA leadership to move the astronauts to the Crew 9 mission. Starliner is designed to operate autonomously and previously completed 2 uncrewed flights. NASA and Boeing will work together to adjust end-of-mission planning and Starliner systems to set up for the uncrewed return in the coming weeks. Starliner must return to Earth before the Crew 9 mission launches to ensure a docking port is available on station. SpaceX Crew 9 mission, originally slated with 4 crew members, will launch no earlier than Tuesday, September 24th. The agency will share more information about the Crew 9 complement when details are finalized. NASA and SpaceX currently are working several items before launch, including reconfiguring seats on the Crew 9 Dragon and adjusting the manifest to carry additional cargo, personal effects, and Dragon-specific spacesuits for Wilmore and Williams. In addition, NASA and SpaceX now will use facilities at Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida to launch Crew 9, which provides increased operational flexibility around NASA's planned Europa Clipper launch. Now, I haven't found an official announcement, and there seems to be some disagreement within NASA about which 2 astronauts will be removed from the Crew 9 crew, but the Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Gorbanov, who is a rookie astronaut, will definitely be on the flight due to rotation agreements. And the head of the astronaut office apparently selected NASA astronaut Zena Cardman, who is also another rookie, to be commander of the mission. The other 2 astronauts who might be losing their seats are experienced astronauts Nick Hague and Stephanie Wilson. So stay tuned over the next few weeks because I'm sure they will make some more announcements. In space history for this past week, it's all about solar eclipses, just about. On August the 18th, 1868, a French astronomer named Pierre-Jules César-Janssen discovered helium while observing a total solar eclipse in India. During the eclipse, Janssen was using a spectroscope to look at the spectrum of light emitted by the sun. This tool allows scientists to determine what elements they're looking at. While observing solar prominences during the eclipse, Janssen noticed a bright yellow line that didn't correspond to any elements that was not yet discovered on Earth. 13 years later, the Italian physicist Luigi Palmieri found the first evidence of helium on Earth in the lava of Mount Vesuvius. August 21st, 1914. On August 21st, 1914, a total solar eclipse temporarily darkened skies across Europe and Asia. A young German astronomer and friend of Albert Einstein's, Erwin Finlay Fromluck, led an expedition to the
Crimean Peninsula of Russia, where he hoped to record observations that would verify Albert Einstein's general relativity theory. This theory predicted that the light from distant stars appearing very close to the sun's edge should shift due to the curvature of space. Those stars would only be visible during a total solar eclipse when the moon blocks out the sun's bright light. Unfortunately, the start of World War I, just 20 days before the eclipse, spoiled the expedition. After Germany declared war on Russia, Freundlich and his colleagues were captured by the Russian army and their equipment was confiscated. After the war, a solar eclipse on May 29, 1919 was used to confirm Einstein's theory of relativity, so the experiment was ultimately a success. Also on August the 21st, where were you at 7 years ago in 2017? A solar eclipse dubbed the Great American Eclipse by the media was a total solar eclipse visible within a band that spanned the entire contiguous United States, passing from the Pacific to the Atlantic coast. As a partial solar eclipse, it was visible on land from Nunavut in northern Canada to as far south as northern South America. In northwestern Europe and Africa, it was partially visible in the late evening. In northeastern Asia, it was partially visible at sunrise. Prior to this event, no solar eclipse had been visible across the entire United States since June 8, 1918. Not since the February 1979 eclipse had a total eclipse been visible from anywhere in the mainland United States. The path of totality touched 14 states, and the rest of the U.S. had a partial eclipse. The event's shadow began to cover land on the Oregon coast as a partial eclipse at 9:05 a.m. Pacific Daylight. The total eclipse's land coverage ended along the South Carolina coast at about 2:44 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. On August the 24th, which is today, back in 2006, for 76 years, school children were taught that our solar system had 9 planets: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. On August 24, 2006, Pluto lost its planetary status as the world's perception of our solar system changed. The darned International Astronomical Union, IAU, is the official entity responsible for naming and classifying all bodies in outer space. And when they met in Prague, Czech Republic, in August 2006, there was a vigorous debate about the definition of objects in our solar system. At the end of the meeting, the IAU voted to classify a planet as a celestial body that A, is in orbit around the sun, B, has sufficient mass for its self-gravity to overcome rigid body forces so that it assumes a hydrostatic equilibrium, nearly round shape, and C, has cleared the neighborhood, so it falls into the new category of dwarf planet. While the definition of planet remains stable for most of the 20th century, objects in our solar system have been recategorized before. For example, Ceres was originally classified as a planet, but was later redesignated as an asteroid. Under the new definition, it is now also a dwarf planet. Right, and well, I think this past week is breaking the Skynet record for the most number of astronauts who had a birthday in the last 7 days. So we're going to start with one of my favorite astronauts, August the 19th, 1935, Story Musgrave, who I had the opportunity to meet about 20 years ago. And he was on a bunch of space shuttle missions, STS-6, 51F, 33, 44, 61, and 80, and he is the only astronaut to have flown on all 5 space shuttles. Also on August the 19th, 1946, Charles Bolden, space shuttle missions STS-61C, 31, 45, and 60, and of course he was the NASA administrator during the Obama administration. Also August the 19th, 1962, another of my favorite astronauts, Mike Massimino, who was on space shuttle missions STS-109, 125, and a couple of episodes of Big Bang Theory. August the 20th, 1938, Jean-Luc Christian, who was on the Soyuz T6 Salyut 7, which was a space station, Soyuz TM7 on Space Station Mir, and Soyuz TM6 also to Mir, and then he was accepted as a NASA astronaut and was on Space Shuttle mission STS-86 also to Space Station Mir. August the 22nd, 1932, Gerald Carr, who was on Skylab 4. August the 23rd, 1956, David Wolf, Space Shuttle missions STS-58, 86 and 89 as part of Mir Mission 24, Space Shuttle missions 112 and 127. August the 23rd, 1967, Dominic Antonelli, Space Shuttle missions STS-119 and 132. And then we're going to round out a list of 5 astronauts who all have birthdays today, starting with August 24th, 1944, Gregory Jarvis, who only had one Space Shuttle mission, and that was on the ill-fated Challenger mission STS-51L. August 24th, 1946, Richard Richards, Space Shuttle missions STS-28, 41, 50, and 64. August 24th, 1949, Anna Lee Fisher, STS-51A. August 24th, 1960, Steve Lindsay, Space Shuttle missions STS-87, 95, 104, 121, and 133. And finally, August 24th, 1962, Mary Ellen Weber, Space Shuttle missions STS-70 and 101. Happy birthday to all of them. And that's all I've got tonight. Back to you, Billy. This is K5 KTX.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Yeah, I got to meet Mike Massimino back in 2011 when he came to UT Dallas and talked about his space missions. He was a great storyteller, and he was really nice to meet. All right, next up is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. So at this time, I will return the net to Chaz, KF5JHA. The net is yours from KF5PDS.
Thank you, Billy. It's always a scary thing when you pass it over to me, isn't it? You know, I thought there were only 7 dwarfs, but now since there's dwarf planets, there's a lot more, aren't there? And Mike Massimino, of course, his fame is really because he was on the Big Bang Theory, right? Okay. Slide Master, slide number 15, Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, is named in honor of Silent Key Carolyn, KC50ZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week, almost from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in Texas throughout the year, out of the 88 total number of constellations, so Miss Carolyn covered the entire sky seen over North Texas in a year. And in her honor, we've continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week this week is actually a twofer: Vulpecula, the little fox, and Sagitta or Sagitta, I've heard it pronounced both ways, the arrow. Slide Master, slide number 16, is probably a pretty important part of Skynet, the jokes of the week. Now, if you're on the video version, you've already got a preview of all 6 of the jokes, but you don't have the punchlines. Okay, so here we go. How can you tell if an arrow is nervous? Well, you can see if it quivers. You know, the quivers are the feathers at the back. Okay, if I have to explain them, they're no go. Why does the arrow on the computer screen use a lot of profanity? Because it's a cursor. Oh, come on, that was funny. How do you improve your archery? With better aerodynamics. You know, these jokes are related to the constellations of the week. Yeah, okay. So we did the arrow one. Now we have to do something about foxes. Why were the foxes hunting rabbits? Because they were in the mood for fast food. Oh, come on, you could hop on that one. Well, that's a double joke. Okay. Why was the fox stuck in the past? Because it was a 20th century fox. Come on, the Afterglow folks get this because, you know, it's a movie thing. Okay. Where did the fox go to buy a new tail? Well, of course, to the retail store. Oh, Slide Master, slide number 17, please. Sagitta, or Sagitta, this constellation has been described as an arrow since ancient times by various cultures. The arrow itself is linked with various myths, but the most often cited one is the arrow that Hercules used to kill the eagle sent by Zeus to torture Prometheus for giving the gift of fire to man. Okay, Slide Master, slide number 18. Sham, which is also Alpha Sagitta or Sagitta. The name Sham is derived from the Arabic name Al-Sham, which means the arrow. Though Sham is designated as Alpha Sagitta, it's actually the third brightest star in the constellation at magnitude 4.4. The brightest star in Sagitta is Gamma Sagitta at magnitude 3.5. Gamma is the star that forms the arrow's head. Sham is the other end of the arrow, forming part of the arrow's fletchings, or the feathers. Slide Master, slide number 19. M71, I actually imaged it, but I don't have a picture of it right here with my C star, is generally considered to be a globular cluster today, even though decades there was a controversy of whether it was a dense open cluster or a loose globular cluster. In binoculars, M71 can be seen, you can see it picked out from the Milky Way background, and it has a small, faint glow. You can see it in binoculars easily. Slide Master, slide number 20. NGC, which stands for New General Catalog 6886, is a planetary nebula. They look like stars until you really crank up the magnification. Large aperture helps, like Dave Hutchinson's 16-inch Dobsonian. With this scope, Dave Hutchinson writes that he is fairly confident that he has found it. At 300 power, it appears not like a star, but non-stellar. And this is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 21, please. The constellation of Vulpecula, the fox, was originally created in the year of 1687 by the Polish astronomer Johannes Helvellus. I always screw up his name. To fill in to some of the spaces in between Cygnus and Sagitta. If you arrange all 88 constellations alphabetically, Vulpecula is the very last one on the list, so it appears at the very end of the volume of Burnham's Celestial Handbook. Vulpecula is the 55th constellation in size, occupying an area of only 268 square degrees. Slide Master, slide number 22. Alpha Vulpecula, also known as 6 Vulpeculae, or La, is a red giant star which is about 250 light years away. It shines at magnitude 4.4 as seen from the Earth. In binoculars, a companion star can be seen that it's not noticeable to the it's not noticeable to the unaided eye. This star is 8 Vulpecula, an orange giant star that shines at 5.8 magnitude. The two stars form the visual double only. They are not a true binary system. This star is an easy to split an 80 millimeter short focal length refractor, which is also about the same as typical binoculars. In his scope, Alpha looked yellow and white, and the other one looked yellow-orange. Now, here's some trivia. What is the proper name for Alpha Orionis? There will be Betelgeuse or Betelgeuse. What is the proper name of Alpha Leonis? That would be Regulus. What's the proper name for Alpha Lyra? That would be Vega. Alpha Vulpecula has a proper name too. Does anyone out there know what it is? I'm looking over at Echolink or YouTube to see if anybody has. Oh, Eric says ugh after one of the jokes. I don't know which one he was referring to. Oh, Alpha Vulpecula, its proper name is called Answer. So the answer is answer. Answer in Latin is the name for goose, which derives from the fact that the originator of the constellation named it Vulpecula cum Answer, or the little fox with a goose. Indeed, the early pictorial star atlases showed the constellation with a drawing of a fox with a goose in its mouth. So one more time, what's the proper name for Alpha Vulpecula? It's Answer. The answer to the question is Answer. Slide Master, slide number 23. Colander 399, also known as the coat hanger or Brocchi's cluster. It can be seen with the unaided eye in dark sky sight. It looks like an unresolved patch of light. It is easily resolved into its distinctive coat hanger shape with even the smallest telescopes, even binoculars. It looks great in an 80 millimeter short focus refractor, and in a Dynamax at 41 power, which is its slowest power, it takes on about 3 fields of view side by side to see all of it. The 6 stars in the hook can fill the field of view at 41 power. In this respect, the coat hanger is somewhat like the Pleiades, an object that is best viewed in low power, wide field of instruments like binoculars. And for many years, the coat hanger was believed to be an open star cluster, but recent studies have shown that it is not a true cluster after all, but just in reality a chance alignment of stars. Slide Master, slide number 24. Now you want to look for something really dumb? Well, M27 is what you're looking for. M27 is the iconic Dumbbell Nebula, discovered by Charles Messier himself in July 1764. Burnham's Celestial Handbook describes M27 as the most conspicuous planetary nebula in the entire sky for small instruments. With a total magnitude of about 8, it can be easily found in large binoculars. The large, actually, I think I've seen it in my 20 by 80 binoculars. I'm not sure if I've seen it in smaller binoculars. The large apparent size of this nebula classifies it as possibly one of the nearest of the planetaries. Current estimates of its distance put it about 815 light years away. And this is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 25. And Kelly over on Echolink. Yes, I'm monitoring this whole thing on YouTube, Echolink, on the radio. I don't know. I even have the TV on at times, too. Yes, slide number 25. There's a few more astronomical League observing program objects in the constellations of Vulpecula, the little fox, and Sagitta or Sagitta, the arrow. I've just given you a sampling of some of those objects. The Astronomical League has, at last count, 74 different observing programs, most of which have about 100 objects. So, if you observe just 10 different objects in one observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pen from the Astronomical League in about a year. Slide Master, slide number 26, and that is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, Vulpecula, the little fox, and Sagitta or Sagitta, the arrow. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for the research and words on deep sky objects that I've used, borrow, and steal for every Skynet. Also, at times I use the website constellation-guide.com for information. Now, next week, we'll be taking a look at Cygnus the Swan. And from my understanding, there's going to be a very humorous net control next week. So you've got to join in. You've got to invite all your friends and family and well, people off the street and whatnot to listen to next week's Skynet. And this is KF5JHA, Chaz, saying goodnight in 73, back to our net control. And that would be Billy, KF5PDS.
Thank you very much, Chaz. This is Billy, KF5TDS, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, next up is space launches for this week. So at this time, I'll turn the net over to Tom. KE5ICX, the net is yours from KF5TDS.
Well, thank you, Billy, and this is KE5I6. By the way, if you want to check in, go ahead and go to the electronic check-in, w5fc.org. Top thing there, it says hot link check-in. Go ahead and do that if you would like to check in. I will get a final check-in here towards the very end of the net. So what do we have right now? The information I have comes from Spaceflight Now launch schedule from spaceflightnow.com/launch schedule. August 25th, that's tomorrow, will be a launch at 12:14 a.m. Pacific time from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. This will be a Falcon 9 rocket that will launch a batch of Starlink satellites to low Earth orbit. This will be which one is this? Starlink 9-5. A little after 8 minutes after liftoff, the first stage booster will make a landing on the drone ship. Of course, I still love you. August 27th, another Falcon 9 Starlink 8-10 mission, this time from SLC-40 in Cape Canaveral. This will be a launch of the Starlink V2 mini satellites into low Earth orbit. A little more than 8 minutes after liftoff, the first stage will land on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. No name as to which one. August 27th, Falcon 9 launch of Polaris Dawn. This will launch a Crew Dragon spacecraft, and the mission will be commanded by billionaire Jared Isaacman, making his second trip into space, to be joined by all private mission by pilot Scott Kidd Poteet and SpaceX employees Sarah Gillis and Anna Menon. The Crew Dragon will return for a splashdown at sea. Third quarter, and to be determined, will be the launch of Bluebird Block 1 from Cape Canaveral, SLC-40. There'll be 700 square foot Block 1 Bluebird satellites on behalf of its customer, AST Space Mobile, and that's 700 square foot Block 1. I guess it's a block. Okay, fine. September 11th will be a launch of Soyuz MS-26 from the Vulpecula space station with Alexei Ovchinin. Will be joined by fellow cosmonaut Ivan Wagner and NASA astronaut Don Petit. The Soyuz is set to dock with the ISS at 3:33 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The spacecraft will remain docked with the orbiting outpost until April 1st, 2025. Then we have, to be determined, a Vulcan Certification Flight 2. This will be United Launch Alliance's Vulcan rocket, which will carry ballast and a collection of small payloads. This is where the Sierra Dream Chaser was supposed to launch, but it was not ready. So that won't happen. Next up is the Falcon 9 Crew 9 launch we've been talking about earlier. Miss Kelly did that one. This will launch Dragon spacecraft carrying a new crew of 4, probably 2, to the International, in fact, it will be 2 to the International Space Station. Falcon 9's first stage booster will return to landing zone 1 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. And then finally, a Vulcan Centaur launch of the Dream Chaser 1, which is what we were talking about, but didn't hitch a ride on that mission that we were talking about. Booster, I should say. The Alliance Vulcan Center rocket will launch on its second demonstration flight for the Dream Chaser cargo vehicle for the International Space Station. Dream Chaser is the lifting body resupply spacecraft that will launch on top of a rocket and land on a runway. It will be Dream Chaser's first flight into space. The Centaur rocket will fly in the VC-4L configuration with GEM 63XL solid rocket boosters, a full-length or long-length payload fairing, and 2 RL-10 engines on the Centaur upper stage. And that's it for that. I'll send it back to you, Miss Billy. This is KE5ICX.
looking over at the hotlink board, I see one check-in, KD9SOK, Sean in Fort Worth. Thank you for using the hotlink check-in. Tom, did you cover visible satellite passages? No, you covered the space launches. Were you going to do that segment as well?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you had given me permission to do that or not, so I just deferred to you. I'll be happy to do that. Let me set up here. These. The only thing I got, there's no passes for the ISS that are of any value to really see. So all I've got are Tiangong, the Chinese space station. I'll go ahead and give those. August 27th has a good pass, minus 1.8 magnitude at 6:24 in the morning. At 10 degrees, it reaches highest point at 60 degrees at 6:27, and it'll fall to the east-northwest east at 6:30. The next night, August 28th, actually morning, is a minus 0.7 magnitude at 5:26 out of the south-southeast, reaches highest point at 28 degrees at 5:26, and it'll fall to the east at 5:29. August 29th has a very good pass. This one is minus 2.1 magnitude, 6:01 in the morning. It reaches highest point at 70 degrees at 6:02, and it'll fall to the east-northeast at 6:05. And then finally, we skip to August 31st, minus 1.4 magnitude, another good, reasonably good pass. 5:37 in the morning, it reaches highest point at 40 degrees at 5:37.46. So it's coming a little bit out of shadow, and then it will fall to the northeast at 5:40. And that's it. Those are the big ones that we've got. No ISS passes this week to speak of. Now it's back to you, or I could do additional check-ins. Why don't I do additional check-ins, and then I'll give it back to our net control. So this is KE5ICX alternate net control. I'm going to do my alternate net control responsibilities. If you are listening in and you have not checked in electronically or in any other mode, we'll do it by voice. Please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from.
Kilo Charlie 5, Mike, Bob Oscar, Jamie, North Dallas.
Kilo 0 Foxtrot Echo Romeo, Chris, Southeast Dallas.
Okay, we have KC5MPO, Jamie in North Dallas, and K0EFR. And that brings us up to 26 check-ins so far. Back to you, Billy, KE5ICX.
Very much, Tom. And just as a reminder, you can use the www.heavens-above.com website to find out what's in orbit and where to look during flyovers. Now we're up to astronomical Q&A. We have a few minutes. Is there anyone on frequency that has an astronomical question? If so, please come now with your call sign. Any sector stations with any other remarks or questions, or does anybody need any fills? If so, please come now with your call sign. Tonight we have 26 TAMs participating on the air. Thank you to all who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration on this network. astronomy in general on Facebook and X, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. So until next Saturday night, this is KF5 CDS, Billy, and I'll be closing the net at 22:25 local time and returning the repeater to normal amateur use. 7-3, everybody, and enjoy the evening universe. And remember, in 5 minutes, come back for the Afterglow movie net. All right, 7-3, everybody.
And thank you, Billy, for doing the net. And yes, indeed, we will be back in 5 minutes at 10:30. We'll go ahead and start the net. Atomic Rulers of the World from 1964. We'll see you then. This is KE5ICX. Okay.
Normal state. W5FC.
No, I'm good. I'm going to get some water.
I'm completely operational and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow movie net.
Okay, it is time for the Afterglow Movie Net, our last net of the evening from whatever time it is, 10:30 to midnight. I'm not sure how far or how long this particular net will go because of the content, but some of the worst movies get the longest discussions, and some of the best movies don't. You just never know. This one falls into the former category, meaning probably not as good as it could be, but here we go. I'm going to tell you about Atomic Rulers of the World, or just Atomic Rulers, which is a 1965 film edited together for American television from films 1 and 2 of the 1957 Japanese short film series called Supergiant. This particular, I'm going to tell you about this plot, and then I'm going to tell you about Supergiant, because I didn't even know this thing existed until about a week ago. The story involves a superhero, Starman, or Supergiant in Japan, who is sent by the Emerald Planet to protect Earth from the nuclear holocaust threatened by the country of Metropole. And they give a list. That's it. That's it. That's all they say. This American adaptation, the 9 Supergiant films, were purchased for distribution in the U.S. and edited into 4 films by Walter Manley Enterprises and Medallion Films. The 2 original Japanese films, which went into Atomic Rulers of the World, which was Supergiant and Supergiant Continues, very imaginative titles, were 49 minutes and 53 minutes in duration. The 2 films were edited into one 83-minute film. The original films were 2 parts of a complete story, but a total of 19 minutes was cut during the re-editing, dropping elements from both films. Also, most of the original music was scrapped and replaced by library cues. The result was a product considerably different from the Japanese originals. Now, I'm going to read, that's all there is from this film or films. I'm going to read you what it says about Supergiant as a series. It literally translates into Supergiant is a Japanese superhero featured in a successful series of serial-like tokusatsu short feature films produced between 1957 and 59 by Shin-Toho, the non-union branch of Toho. He is known in Japan as Giant of Steel, and in the United States as Starman, and is known in France as Spaceman. It was Japan's first on-screen superhero, whereas Takeo Nakamitsu's 1930 The Golden Bat was Japan's first modern superhero and had many manga, anime, and film adaptations. Shitoho's Supergiant was the first celluloid superhero I can't even say the word, theatrically released in 1957, the role model for many Japanese superheroes to come, including and especially Ultraman and Kamen Rider. I knew about the first, but not the second. Named Supergiants plural, although the main character was only one person, and obviously human size, the series title was no doubt inspired by the American Adventures of Superman, which was then being broadcast in Japan, and the famous Japanese baseball team, the Yomiuri Giants, who were extremely popular at the time. The Moonlight Mask became Japan's first made-for-TV superhero when his TV show debuted in 1958. But Supergiant was Japan's first theatrical superhero series. Now, this part was interesting. I read this earlier. From the strongest steel by the Peace Council of the Emerald Planet. He's created to destroy evil and restore peace in the universe, resembling a Japanese man in white tights and a cowl fitted with an antenna. Tony, it is an antenna. The capes under his arms. He was virtually indestructible. He wears on his wrist the globe meter device, which enables him to 1. Fly through space, 2. Detect radiation, 3. Speak and understand any language. He could also use it to disguise himself as an earthling to walk among them. When sent to Earth to fight evildoers, he disguises himself as a Japanese man wearing an ordinary suit and a fedora hat, looking almost like a police detective, but still uses his Supergiant name. His secret identity is not that secret, as he works with the Japanese authorities to help them fight evildoers. He is just as powerful in his civilian form. He also goes along with Earth children and saves them from danger, as he knows that children represent the Earth's future. After accomplishing his mission, Supergiant always flies back to the Emerald Planet. And this was interesting. Supergiant was played in all 9 films by the respected film TV actor Ken Utsui. However, Utsui hated playing Supergiant, and right up to his death always played down the role. This is partially on account of a somewhat embarrassing costume, especially the overstuffed crotch area. He said that producers thought that female viewers were attracted to well-endowed men, so they stuffed the crotch area of Utsui's costume with cotton. Whatever Utsui's feelings about the role, his earnest and heroic interpretation of the character made a lasting impact on a generation's children all over the world. And there you have it. Then there's a whole description of all 9 films. You don't want to hear about that. Who started them, what happened, where they went, all of that. It was sort of what has become, the Marvel Universe, only on a $2 budget. Okay, with that, I think it's time to start the net. I will go ahead and do this. I will take check-ins. After that, we will discuss the plot, going down the list of check-ins, then the characterization, and then finally special effects, music, and all the technical aspects of the film. So here we go. Please come now with your call sign, your name, and did you see tonight's movie? What the hell is the name of this movie? Atomic Rulers of the World. Please come now.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo. Bill and Irving. Yep, I saw it. November Tango 5, Tango Mike. Tony in Dallas. I didn't understand it, but I did see it. Kilo Bravo 9, Sarah Kilo, Sean Fort Worth. Yes, I see this now.
Kilo 0, Foxtrot, Echo Foxtrot, Dallas, and I survived about half of it.
This is Whiskey 5, bacon, lettuce, and tomato. Yes, I saw this fine film.
Golf 5, Bravo, Zulu Whiskey, J. Now Edward. I saw this film.
All right, let me go ahead and get those checked in. There was one station that got clobbered, and I tried like mad to get the call sign, but I failed. But let me get everybody checked in. I got N5BB, Bill and Irving. Yes, he saw the film. NT5TM, Tony Dallas. Yep, he saw the film. KB9SOK, Sean Fort Worth. Yep, he saw the film. And then the K0 call, you had an ugly double. So all I got was K0. Could you go ahead and give me your call, your name? And did you see tonight's movie?
Kilo 0, Foxtrot, Echo Romeo, Chris in Dallas, and I saw about half of the movie.
All right, K0 FER, Chris in Dallas. He saw half the movie. I'm sure you saw the best half of the film. You wouldn't watch the worst half, certainly. And then Bill, W5BLT, yes, he saw the film. And JKG5BZW, he's near Weatherford. Yes, he saw the film. I see Brenda down there. She usually checks in, but she likes to wait because she's on Echolink. So, Brenda, you want to check in? I see you there.
WV5OZL, Brenda in Dallas. Yes, I saw this movie. I would like to check in. I'm not sure what I'm going to say about it yet.
Victor 5 Foxtrot, Virginia. I clobbered that other guy.
Okay. Well, okay. Okay, I got Brenda checked in, WB50ZL. WB50ZL, Brenda Dallas, yes, she saw the film. And then V5F Virginia. I put a question mark past your name. I'm going to say Fort Worth because I think that's where you are. Did you see this fine film?
Yes.
Well, that was weak but audible. You said yes, very meekly. Anyone else want to join us? Please come now.
Kilo Juliet 5, Hotel Mike Uniform. My name is Owen from East Dallas, and I have not seen this film.
All right, we picked up KJ5HMU, Owen in East Dallas. You did not see the film, but don't go away and you're conveniently at the end of the list. So I'm going to ask you after you've heard the first round here, would you see this film? Does it remind you of anything you have seen? And have you ever been a member of the Communist? No, that's something from the 50s. And we'll see if you would watch this film. Amazingly, we've had some pretty terrible films that have intrigued people who have not seen them and have checked into this net that they've actually gone back and watched the horrible film. So hit or miss, sometimes the descriptions and discussion is intriguing enough to just see what it's like watching a train wreck. Okay, we're going to the top of the list. That would be Bill. He managed to get in there first. Bill, you get First of the World from kind of 1964, more like 58, 59, from KE5ICX. Go ahead, Bill.
Okay, thank you, Tom. This is Inside BB. Plot. What the heck is the Emerald Planet? Starman, our hero, he mentions it even to some of the people on Earth, like they know what the Emerald Planet was. Is this some Japanese thing, the Green Planet? I don't know, that's weird. It's obviously a Japanese/US production, so it had these interesting mixtures of Japanese characters and like US or European thugs. The bad guys were all from, I don't know, Europe, US, Russia, somewhere else. And maybe, was it Mongolia? There was the weird country they were from was not Mongolia. It started with M. I can't remember what it was called. The made-up country name. And but the people there all were foreigners compared to the Japanese, evidently. And you notice, talking about the plot, during the first part of the plot, the bad guys drove a Ford. Yeah. And very obviously, they switched to a Chevy for the rest of it. So these U.S. cars were involved, and they were the bad guys with the U.S. cars. And I don't know. This is a weird movie. The weirdest thing about it is that Starman spent nearly all of his time fist fighting everybody around him, or kicking them, or jumping up on chandeliers, or jumping up and jumping down, jumping in a lake, and then they played the movie backwards backwards, the film backwards, so it looked like he was jumping back out of the lake with the water coming out the wrong way. But he was fighting. He was fighting. So they spent all this time with him fighting. They just used up all the time of the plot with him fighting. And the people he fights, they never go down once. They keep coming back and back and back and back so he can hit him again. That's the plot. The rest of the plot, Starman, no matter what he does, it takes him forever to do it. So if he flies to the secret base, it takes him twice as long to get there as the bad guys, going by slow boat, I think. Why? I don't know. But it takes him forever to do anything. He's always late. He can't get there in time, even though he has these superpowers and can fly like Superman. And carry women with him, or kids like Superman. So, as far as the plot goes, obvious Superman ripoff. And just fight. And just everything in the movie was to delay everything, so they had to come up with any more, plot points. I tell you one thing, you can tell who the good people are and who the bad people are. Kids, good. Starman, good. Japanese people, good. The Monrovians, or whoever they were, bad in their U.S. cars in 5BB.
Oh man, Bill, bad guys drive U.S. cars. Oh, jeez. Well, don't forget, what was it, Spartacus? All the English Romans, all the Romans were English, and all the slaves were American actors. So keep that in mind too. You'll have to ask Stanley Kubrick about that, or Virginia. She may have an answer for that one too. Okay, next up is Tony, NT5TM. Tony, you saw this fine film. I know that you are an aficionado of fine Japanese films, and this one's probably way up there in the fine Japanese films. What did you think of this particular manifestation, Atomic Rulers of the World, from 1964, sort of?
Well, thank you, Tom, for being our net control. I know it's a hard time of night to be net control and stay at all coherent. When I fight it, I struggle to do a good job. So I appreciate your being here, but man, I don't know. It's hard to even explain what I think of this movie. It definitely existed, and I'm sure I would put it on a list, although a list of fine films, I don't know. There were kids and there were grown-ups, and there was some guy who could transform back and forth between a guy who wore a suit and a guy who wore a really ridiculous, that costume was just outrageous. And I don't mean that in a good way at all. And all these things happened. Kids ran away or tried to hide. There were lots of fistfights. There were people swinging from chandeliers. And other than the fact that there were good guys and bad guys, I was never very clear what anyone's motivation was, what they were trying to accomplish, why they were there. At some point, someone I think said that they were going to destroy Japan as an example to the rest of the world. Okay. But, I didn't really find the plot very comprehensible. So I can't tell you if it was good or bad, only that I found it incomprehensible. NT5TM. Pow, biff, bam. Plot.
All right, thank you, Tony. So I interpret that as you loved it. Next up is Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, you tell us, what do you think? Plot good, plot bad. Starman good, whatever those guys are from the unknown, think bad. At any rate, go ahead from KE5ICX.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yeah, the plot on this was super weak. I've I didn't realize this was made out of 2 other films, so this kind of makes sense why it was weird. The plot was super, super weak. You know, we start off right off the bat with this plot of this planet somewhere else in the universe, probably light years away. For some reason, it'd be impacted by radiation on Earth, which made no sense at all. Even if the planet was in reasonable proximity of our galaxy, that wouldn't have had any impact. But if you take it out thinking, okay, yeah, they want to help out the Earthlings so we don't destroy ourselves, okay. We'll look the other way on the poor start off plot point. Billy says, why do they call it a watch on? Oh, because it didn't tell time. It didn't do anything. It didn't light up. It was just literally a wristband that looked like our planet, sort of, a map. So yeah, you know, they didn't start off very strong with this one. But yeah, there's very little dialogue actually in this film, other than when, you know, the gangster was trying to basically get the kid to talk, where the other kid was with the briefcase, and that material that was required for the nuclear bomb, that they apparently just carried around in a little plastic container and it's perfectly safe. Once again, didn't make a lot of sense. Definitely not a strong plot. Yes, this is clearly a knockoff of Superman style, but there just wasn't any plot with it. That's the biggest problem. It was just, yeah, I guess technically it did. You know, we were going to I thought they said Mongolians too, but I guess that's not the right word. I guess they were going to destroy the planet. He comes, saves us, and that's about the extent of the plot. You know, one of the big problems is, I mean, we don't normally watch a lot of quote-unquote superpowered type horror movies on here. We watch, you know, movies obviously with people that are leads that do save other people, but not really with superpowers from other planets like Superman or any of these stuff from Marvel. We don't typically watch that. But if you do watch any of those, you know, normally for a good superhero movie, you need either you need to have a really good detective-style story where, you know, the quote-unquote good guy has got to really figure out what the bad guys are doing and look for clues and, you know, and truly it's wits against wits. We didn't have that here. And the other thing sometimes it's good to have in an action movie is if you're going to have fight scenes that you're going to have, they've at least got to be entertaining. These became very boring. And to be quite honest, during some of the fight scenes, I stopped watching them and started reading my tablet and looking at news, and I would look back, see if anything changed. And he's still just throwing guys around. And it just got very mundane and boring because they do the same thing over and over. You know, if you're going to have a good fight scene, you need to be some back and forth. At no point at any time did I feel that anybody or the heroine was ever in any kind of danger or that there was even kind of a challenge for him. Yeah, we had the nuclear grenade thrown there at the end, but, you know, even that didn't faze him. You know, you at least would have thought it would have made him a little dizzy or something, and he had to get his wits back together. You know, I thought there had been some kind of, you know, struggle there, you know, but they didn't even take advantage of that situation. So they're just, you know, what makes that kind of movie good, it was all pretty much missing. Lack of plot, lack of, you know, back and forth. If you're going to have superpowered people at least struggling and have to maybe outwit the bad guy, sometimes instead of just outbeat them. But anyway, yeah, kind of a dull one here, but hearing that they mixed 2 movies together kind of makes some sense now, maybe why there wasn't a solid plot. So that's all I got for this round. Back to net, KB9 is okay.
All right, thank you, Sean. Yeah, I kind of wavered a little bit. I think I fell asleep during the thing too, even with all of the fighting and the track music. That was really kind of bizarre. Okay, next up is Chris, K0FER. Chris, your thoughts about the plot for our fine film, Atomic Rulers of the World.
And what a fine film it was. The plot was, I mean, it moved, but it had to be pushed, forced with, yeah. A lot of plot holes. Did not care for the film. Honestly, in the opening dialogue, when they're trying to explain, like, the emeraldites and the sapphirites, I could have sworn they said the satire from the planet Satire. And I thought, oh, what are we in for? Star Wars references of the Death Star and pre-Ziggy Stardust references to Starman, but that was about it. Back to that.
All right, thank you, Chris. And I will interject this because I'll forget it by the time it gets to me. And that is that whenever you watch a Japanese film, whatever it may be, because of the cultural differences, you're never absolutely sure that you're on the level with these guys and gals, probably. But is this film really trying to be serious, or is it mocking something else? Most of the time, you're safe with saying they're trying to be serious, and you don't know why. Okay, next up is Bill, W5BLT. Bill, yes, you saw the film. What did you think of the plot?
Well, W5BLT, Tom, we've seen this plot kind of before. The Earth's in danger from an alien galaxy planet, and somebody's got to save the Earth and the girl. So it's a pretty common plot. I've seen it many times. I'm going to be the only one on here who likes this film. I'll tell you why. It's not because of the film itself, obviously. When I was growing up as a kid, we had a host on Friday nights called Sammy Terry. He would play horror movies, which I'm not really into that, but every once in a while there'd be a science fiction movie, a Bruce Lee movie or something like that. And this took me back to those times of my childhood. So it wasn't the plot that made me like the movie, the characters or anything like that. It was really just that it brought me back to late Friday nights, dozing off and on to this type of film. It was interesting, though. I'm always, that's the whole entertainment that comes out of Japan and the movies. I just find it kind of entertaining. It's different. Yes, the fight scenes are kind of, I'm not sure if they look similar, but it just kind of reminds me of fight scenes of Batman or something. I couldn't really tell what was going on, obviously being blind. Just heard a lot of things like that. So, anyway, yeah, it's an interesting film. I don't regret watching it. Would I go watch it again? Probably not, but I don't, it was something that I could put on. I found it on YouTube, so I put it on double speed and got through it quicker. So maybe that's why I didn't see this story. W5BLT. Thank you.
All right, one demerit for you, Bill. You set the thing for double speed so you get through it in half the time. Bad, Bill. Very bad, Bill. All right, next is Jay, KG5BZW. Jay, what did you think about the plot for our fine film, Atomic Rulers of the World from 1964?
He had his gas wanted to break off. It's like the silliness of well, I mean, okay, so you realize, or you don't have to realize, but I'm gonna tell you anyway. I mean, there was a big deal about U.S. Being atomic weapons and fact that there was a story about how certain Japanese men were the area but not in the fallout, I should say, of one of the tests and not just the Hiroshima and Nagasaki, there
happen to be other instances where Japanese were affected as well, and so you do have to think about that in terms of some of this stuff. But I mean, that's inspiration for gospel and stuff like that. This movie, it was just kind of really silly. The fight scenes were just way too long. Any kind of pointless. But I'll admit, I don't know how much even Japanese regards Japanese films. Besides, the anime industry, which but anyway, I do like the fact that it seems to be the inspiration for Ultraman and the Highland Riders. I've not seen either, but I've heard a lot of good stuff. Even if it's just kind of corny stuff, I love. They have cool following, so that's kind of cool. But even that stuff, I do believe is tends to be kind of cheesy a little bit, but it wasn't terrible. It's wrong. Let me take that back. It was kind of terrible, but it wasn't the kind of terrible that made me hate it. It was just for whatever reason I did not hate this. It was kind of terrible, but I'm just a few months later. I don't know what else to say. I kind of missed the part. You say this was a combination of two films, but I'm not sure how the film with two. I should have been listening when you were talking about how this film was actually made for the U.S. audience. I do find it interesting, Starman versus Supergiant, which was, it makes sense, I guess, given the what they were trying to do or something. I don't know. I don't really have much else to say. There's just not much to this film. I mean, I only know that KG5VGW.
Okay, well, I'll put say this, that you didn't hate the film, you were just slightly annoyed, or maybe perturbed, or maybe found the film less than stellarly entertaining. I don't know. Anyway, okay. Next up is NV5F. That would be Virginia. Virginia, what do you think? How does this play out? And would Stanley Kubrick do something like this? That's a wide open question. Of course, he already did some. No, that's something else. Okay, go ahead. Tell us what you think from KE5ICX.
Okay, thank you, Tom. I'm with Bill. I did not hate this. I like Japanese stuff. I do note the cultural differences. I always have. It does remind me of the old Ultraman shows that I remember watching. Also, it has that same. It has an aesthetic that does make me think of anime, probably mostly because of how the voiceovers are done. They've definitely got a certain rhythm about them that even though people who speak English are doing them, they have to be, I guess, most of them, even the kids, are usually done by adults, and then they, I think, have to speak at a certain kind of cadence to try to match. But this is probably round 3 stuff. Anyway, the plot was simple. It was pretty. We can just go, oh well, yeah, this was chopped together from some serials. I kind of had that feeling. It had the sense to me that it was something that was probably a popular episodic superhero thing. It was obviously a Superman kind of deal. That was just a Japanese version. It was obviously a reference to what happened in World War II with all the bad guys being Anglo or American or not Asian. And that was obvious, and it didn't bother me. Not offended by that at all. But I thought the plot was actually, I thought it was pretty easy to follow, and it was very of the time, and I actually cared about the little kids, and I thought Starman was, I liked the name Starman. I was also thinking of David Bowie. I heard him in my head the whole time. I can't sing what I heard because this is amateur radio. I liked, it's funny to me that the actor who played Starman downplayed it. That makes me think of, what's his face, who played the original Superman on television. He kind of had a similar experience, and his ended very badly.
George Reeves.
But I kind of liked him. I love little Japanese kids. They're just cute, and I thought they were pretty resourceful little kids, and all the fighting was what you'd expect in a superhero thing, and the lamest thing in it was the supposed nuclear bomb that he shielded the gal from in the where they threw him in the dungeon or whatever, and stuck the bomb in there with them, and somehow he shielded her from the bomb with his body, and this supposed nuclear bomb hardly did any damage. I was like, man, that's the lamest nuclear bomb in the history of cinema. But yeah, it was just a silly kind of thing with an obvious meaning, and I thought the plot was straightforward, and I guess the only real criticism, it was just the kind of thing I'd expect, and it kind of ended sort of abruptly after the big climax, but things kind of did that back then, and I didn't have a whole lot of problems with the plot, and I thought the fighting was pretty typical of this kind of story, and it was silly, and it was fun, and cheered me up a little bit, and I just enjoy Japanese stuff. It would have been interesting if Stanley Kubrick had decided to make something in this style, in a Japanese style. I think that would have been kind of neato. He tended to get obsessed with topics that I thought were a little too heavy and cynical. I think he could have been, he wanted to make the movie which became AI, and I think he never could get his head around how, I think he kind of wanted to do something magical like Steven Spielberg would have done, and that ended up being turned over to Steven Spielberg, and then Steven Spielberg tried to be Stanley Kubrick and made a really sucky movie. But I wish he had been a little more whimsical and a little more accessible, and it would have been neat to see him make something like this maybe even in black and white. And I think the Spartacus thing is because back then all the bad guys were British, all the good guys were American, and all those actors had been already hired before they asked Stanley Kubrick to direct the movie at the last minute. So that's my theory on that one. Anyway, I won't say anymore. NV5S.
All right, nothing wrong with that, and you made some very good comments, and I would agree with you on Stanley Kubrick. I think if it didn't take him so darn long to make movies as time went on, and I think he was suffering from sort of a mental burnout or something. I don't know. There was just something I think wrong with him towards the end that he couldn't, obsessive perfectionism or something. I think that if he could have, and let's face it, all his movies are fascinating. Some of them are not watchable by a mass audience, but some are. I think they're all quite good, each and every one of them. But the effort he put in and what he gets out of it, I don't know. I think a conservation of energy might have worked better for him, and he could have produced more films. I don't know if they'd be as good or not, but he would have had more variety. Let's put it that way. More films, more variety would have occurred. Okay. Next up is Owen. Owen, if you're still there, KJ5HMU. Here's my question to you, my friend. Would you watch this film? And does it remind you of anything you may have seen already? From KE5ICX.
I suddenly got nervous whenever I heard my name at the beginning. So from what I'm hearing, the plot was confusing for some, if not most, if I should use people. I would say I would watch the movie, because I mean I'm a big fan of some Japanese style movies, and I want to put some. I want to see this. I also very rarely fall asleep when watching movies, especially when they're new. But I want to see if this could be a first. I mean, my brain hates me. Hey, what was the I heard two questions there. What was the second question? KJ5HMU.
Yes, yes. Well, the first question was, and you answered it. Would this be something that has intrigued you enough that you would watch the film? And you said yes. And the second question was, does this remind you of anything that you've seen in the past? And what did you think about that?
So, I mean, not really. I would imagine, I've seen, I think it was Victoria who mentioned this. I would imagine it would somewhat be like an Ultraman movie. I mean, but I'm not really sure. My brain does not like me at this time of day, or I should say time of night. It is around 23:14. So I would say no. Just as a response. So, yeah, KJ5HMU.
Okay, well, that's fine, Owen. Now, I kind of put you on the spot because you have to suppose something based on what other people have said. So, but, you know, we wanted you in on the conversation. But you would watch the film. And there's nothing wrong with that. And you are right. It's very much like Ultraman in the way it was handled. I never watched Ultraman when I was a kid. That came a little later for me. But my brother, who's 9 years younger than me, watched it all the time. So I did get to see it when he took control of the television and Ultraman was on. So I very familiar with that and all the little productions like that with the Gamera and I don't know, that there are other things too that he liked. That 57 years old and he still loves that stuff. But I still love my stuff, so what the heck. Okay, my comments here, I will say this. Because of the nature of this film, which is almost like a serial with, short segments and that, the way it plays out, when you put them end to end, I think we did this with a Buck Rogers series or something, or Flash Gordon, the same sort of thing. It was all stitched together as a single movie, and it doesn't play very well because simply it's never meant to be seen all at one time. It's meant to be seen in segments or smaller groups. And at the very worst, it's two films put together in one, and with scenes that are dropped, and we have a narration. By the way, if anybody can identify who the narrator is, obviously it's for the English version. That guy's voice sounds so familiar. He's done other narrations, and I'm trying to think of what it is. I'll find it out or Google it and see, but it's somebody very familiar voice that we've heard in just about everything. I think he's done movie trailers too. He's known for that. So you've got to have a certain amount of action in it. It's for kids. I'm really pretty sure that's what the whole design was for, is for kids. So we've got the small children or the school children in it to keep the youngins that want to go and see this entertained. The plot's somewhat simplistic, and yeah, the baddies are always Anglo people, I guess. Maybe a little jab there. Of course, we kind of dumped 2 bombs on top of their country, so I imagine they're pretty good-natured about the whole thing. I know that sounds terrible, but geez, what do you got to say, Overall, interesting, I will say. I found it somewhat repetitious, same things over and over again. So it's very rough. What Tony mentioned too, the fact that it takes, or Bill, I think maybe it was Bill mentioned, it takes forever for something to happen and for Starman to get there. I think to just fill out what little bit of a plot there was. So, is it okay? Yeah. Am I going to watch the other 8 movies? No, I'm not. I'm not even going to watch the trailers for the other 8 movies. No, it's not worth my time. Was it entertaining and different? Yes. Something I've never heard of before from Japan. Yes, it was mildly entertaining. Not majorly entertaining, mildly entertaining, and I'm pretty sure that I revolted by falling asleep a couple of times during it, which I'm known to do on Friday nights, especially if the movie's bad. Okay, let's go to the top. Well, we're doing okay on time. Let's go with Bill. This is characterization. This may go fast because I don't know how the heck you're going to be able to characterize people in something other than basic stereotypes, but who knows? Maybe somebody will pull something out of this. Bill, N5BB, what did you think about characterization and acting in our fine film?
Oh, this is N5BB. Well, by the way, really quick, for those of you that couldn't figure the plot out, it was simple. The people on the Emerald Planet, or the creatures on the Emerald Planet, you see a picture of them, half of them look like robots. But the creatures on the Emerald Planet decide that radiation from atomic bombs and tests on the Earth is affecting them at that great distance. And they discovered that these bad guys from Mirapolia, Merapolia, I think, from that country, that they have an evil plan. Again, nobody in the U.S. and in Japan realized this, but the people on the Emerald Planet realized it somehow. That these people from Merapolis, whatever they call it, are going to hold the whole world hostage, blow up atomic bombs and everything. So they send Starman to the Earth to try to stop the evil plot of them blowing the bombs up. Why? because the radiation would affect their evil planet. That is the whole plot of the whole thing. And Starman is just there trying to stop the atomic bomb plot. That's the whole thing. Anyway, okay, so the characterization. The Starman himself is depicted very straightforwardly. He has a Superman / Clark Kent ego, or personality, because he can switch back and forth from the Starman in the stupid costume to this guy in a business suit that's kind of the Clark Kent kind of regular guy. He can do this in an instant. He doesn't have to go to a telephone booth. Anyway, and so he's got a very, I think he did a great job in it, personally. He's got a straightforward characterization. We don't know anything about his personal life, what's going on anywhere else. All we know is he has a warm heart. He likes children. He likes humans. He wants us to survive. So he's good, just plain old good. He's a good guy. He's like a godlike figure or something, coming to save us all. He's a Starman. What can you say? So I thought that was fine characterization. The kids were kids, but I think they actually did a great job. I liked the kids. That was fun. It was great fun. They were kids. They were doing kids things. They were stealing things. They were hiding. They were scared of the gun. They wanted to play with the gun. I really liked the writing for the kids. I think the kids really stood out in this. Then you had the guy and the woman. The woman was, I think, a teacher, and her boyfriend or whatever that was, I don't know what he was, but they were also good people that the kids liked and Starman liked, and the evil guys were trying to abduct her to get everybody to do their bidding. So I thought that characterization was okay. I thought the characterization of the Japanese officials there at the party, right before the party, when Starman was put into jail for a while, it looked like they were a little bit bumbling, kind of the bumbling cops. But there at the party, once they figured out what was going on, the Japanese officials, they were characterized as good people, doing a good job. They were very effective. So that was pretty good characterization. That was kind of enjoyable, actually. This is in 5BB. The bad guys, I can't remember the evil guy's name, but the bad guys were just pure evil. They were just bad. They would kill people for no reason. They were just, and they drove these American cars. They were bad. And the bad, and you could tell it from her, the way she responded to things. And in their lair, they had, built into the wall were TV screens and things where they could see what was going on. It was all the bad henchmen. I mean, to tell you the truth, that was pretty enjoyable. And the characterization of all those people was okay. So actually, I was okay with pretty much all the characterization. I enjoyed those characters. I wanted the bad guys to fail, the good guys to succeed. What I didn't like was all the continued fighting. And like I said, the fact that Starman took forever to get anything done. But now that you describe it as a series, that's how they could stretch it out. Starman was taking so long to get from place to place that they could fill the thing up. That's all I got for characterization in 5BB.
All right, thank you, Bill. You're turning mellow in your retirement years. I like that. You don't mind terrible films, and you're endeared to the characters, even though the acting is horrible. You're just turning into an old mushmallow. Okay, next up is Tony, NT5TM. Tony, what'd you think of characterization and acting in our fine film, Atomic Rulers of the World from KE5ICX?
Well, I mean, I guess there was some acting. People had to say their lines and then hold still to get punched. Bill did actually remind me of a couple of good points. There were the teachers and I couldn't remember which kid was which, but the kids were at least cute and plucky and energetic. Mostly, I had a lot of trouble telling the characters apart. I'm sure they had names. I'm sure I have no idea what they are, except for the Starman. And so I'd have to say that by and large, the characters were pretty weak, pretty stereotypical, not very interesting, and at least the kids were cute. NT5TM.
All right, thank you, Tony. And Brenda she sent me a note a while back. I skipped her somehow. I'm sorry, Brenda. I didn't mean to do that. I will give you double extra time in the. She's sending a note to me. She sent me this note like 20 minutes ago, but I didn't see it. Okay, let me go on to Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, your thoughts on characterization and the acting from KE5ICX.
Yeah, this is KB9, it's okay. Just to kind of, I guess I never really gave an opinion in general about the movie, other than, I didn't care for the plot, and didn't care for the fight scenes. I agree, I kind of agree with you, Tom. I didn't hate it. Out of this public domain website that we watched off of, it might actually be the more tolerable, but I definitely wouldn't recommend this film, nor would I watch it again, or any of the sequels. But anyway, back to characterization. Obviously our Starman was, very classic Clark Kent style character. I'm okay with that. I like my good guys to be good and the bad to be bad. A lot of the films today try to gray or make that more of a gray area to where even sometimes the good guys are bad, and just the bad guys are maybe worse. And I really don't care for that. I want my, the heroes to be good. At the end of the day, this is, it's a story. It's not real life. So I was fine with that, and I prefer that. But there wasn't a lot of depth to him, though. We didn't really learn anything at all about him, other than the fact that he was made. Not like he was, manufactured, not born. And that's really about all we know about him. And then, I agree. Probably the best characters in this film was the kids. The kids were cute. It seemed very typical Japanese style movie for that time. I like the kids. Okay, didn't have a problem telling them apart. Our bad guy was your typical, super villain. Along the lines of a Bond style villain, to where he's going to destroy everything. He's got secret layers. He's got the special screens where it don't matter where the people are at, the cameras seem to magically follow them. It was very Bond-like type villain. Even though we didn't really see a lot from him in this film, he was okay. The acting wasn't great. It was pretty subpar for that. It was along the lines of like a regular serial and something like that, where it was just, and the same way with our Starman. Because they never really hardly talk, so kind of hard to act when you don't really say much. And then we have a lot of goons, or minions, whatever you'd like to call them, that did all the fighting with Starman, and obviously those you can't tell them apart. And then we had the cop that was investigating and helping out the kids, and ultimately helped out Starman a little bit there at the end. He was okay. Once again, not going to win any awards. So the acting was just pretty, average or below, or just below average. And yeah, the characters are very stereotypical. Get the words out here. So yeah, that's what about all there to say about the acting on this one. So yeah, back to net. This is KB9SOK.
Okie dokie. Thank you, Sean. Next up is Chris, K0FER. Chris, what'd you think of the characterization and acting?
Yeah, not a lot of comments about characterization here, but the kids were probably the most passable about everything. The thing that kind of just bugged me the most was, like, we get it, the bad guys are bad, but they just seem to be very heavy-handed with characterization. Let's give them SS uniforms. Let's make them do the Nazi salute. Okay, we get it, y'all. But, yeah, it was just a little over the top, and I thought, okay, there's going to be zero nuance in this. Film? Okay, K0FER, back to that.
All right, short and sweet, but that's probably what it deserves. Next up, Bill, W5BLT. Bill, what did you think about the acting? The English voices. Go ahead from KE5ICX.
Hey, Tom. Thanks. You know, I thought the kids were probably the best. So I'll just echo that, what others have said. The other thing that I would say is that I just thought the bad guy's laughter was funny. The way they were, I don't know, I just found that amusing. I think I kind of put it in the genre of the Flash Gordon and things like that. I'm thinking of the one I saw in the early 80s that Queen did the song for. And when I went to the movie, I remember the critics were really kind of down on it, I think, at the time. But, my dad and I just had a blast laughing at it. And it was just an enjoyable time. And I think, we have so much entertainment stuff now. But, back when you went to the movies or, you had a matinee and you saw several films and it was just going to the movies and hanging out, or you had 3 TV channels. This was something to just kind of pass the time. And so I always just sort of look at it in that regard. But I like the kids. I like the just the way, I didn't mind the way they portrayed the bad guys. It was kind of over the top. But again, I just thought this, the characters and things, maybe I didn't take it as seriously. Maybe I took it as kind of a comedy. But anyway, and I also sped it up. So Starman, he got there pretty quick on the film I watched. So I figured out how to speed up YouTube by 3 times. So I'll work on that. W5BLT.
I'm going to try and remember that going forward. Yeah, just speed it up. If it's on YouTube, find the copy on YouTube and then speed it up. That way, then you can get through the movie more quickly. I like that. Okay, next up on my list, if I follow this very carefully, would be J, KG5VZW. J, what did you think of characterization? The kids, the minions, the maniacal guy in charge of the planet, blah, 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 and of course Starman. Go ahead from KE5I6.
KG5BCW. I'm not a lot to say, figure out anything that hasn't already been said. I mean, I agree that the characters themselves seem to be fine. The one thing that pops into mind, which isn't exactly on characters, but it's kind of religious, and not, that's just a very tangent. It's like a tangent on a tangent, honestly. The
I mean, how the characters handled the fight scenes was yeah, I know. That could be in the third category that we normally do, but I don't know if I'm going to be awake for that. I was just thinking about how in the anime, the old anime, and rest is all the creator of Dragon Ball Z just recently, not too recently, but it was past like a couple months or so, died. So, you know, there's so many films that you probably maybe better off not knowing about all that, but one of the original, certainly one of the original anime that got a lot of Western audiences interested in anime. I was just reminded that of just how fights were spaced out in that film, in that series. Oh, you have to watch the entire 5 days worth of stuff just to get through a plot point. So, you know, think about how there's so many fight scenes of this thing. Now, if I consider that, the big difference was well, I mean, if you're a fan of anime, I guess, or that type of thing, fight scenes were actually kind of cool. This, they were still trying to learn. I mean, again, I know this is a precursor to a lot of cool stuff, or a lot of things people were considered cool, so maybe they hadn't quite figured it out yet. But knowing how they did Dragon Ball Z, it's not really surprising that maybe now that being spliced together, yeah, there's a lot of fight scenes. Yeah, I understand that now. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, really, the characters are pretty simple, and there wasn't really anything to hate about them. I mean, I've seen a lot of films where, you know, evil are evil and the good are kind of good, but they're just stupid or whatever, and it wasn't that it wasn't like that. I don't know, maybe I was just in a better mood or something, but anyway, that's all I have for this round. Maybe that's all I have for all the rounds, but anyway, we'll be 55 BCW.
All right, thank you, Jay. And now, Brenda, who I skipped over on the first round, WB5OZL. Brenda, I'm giving you extra time because I messed up. Somehow I missed you. Tell us what you think about the plot and then characterization, please, from KE5ICX.
Thank you. This is WB5OZL. Well, the plot was just a vehicle to have a lot of fist fights, and gunfights, and chases, on and on and on. You could hardly tell them apart. You couldn't keep the characters apart. You just knew they were fighting each other. And they're always threatening to kill people, even the kids. Who does that? I mean, that's kind of like a no-no to threaten kids or animals. You just don't do it. And this guy was just, he had his itchy trigger finger just itching to kill this child. So, to me, that part was a little tedious, the way they kept doing it. Plot was simple. The basic plot was simple enough, I think. We all know what it was. Something I have noticed is how many movies are so obsessed with the atom bomb. There's so many American movies, 50s and 60s. It's just a common theme that runs through it, and this was no different. And the idea that some far-flung planet is going to get radiation from the Earth is ridiculous, but
it's just a little sketchy. But no, I wouldn't watch this again. I didn't hate it. It was watchable. And it was very appropriate for the role. I hated his costume. It made me very uncomfortable. It was creepy. And I don't know what those little capes were hanging down from his arm were for. But they sure could have done costume for this guy. It made him look like a hero. Oh, characters. Yeah, I like the Starman character. He was good. I like the kids and the girl. But it was a little hard to figure out who was the bad guy. And not sure why they had Americans in this movie. They portrayed them as the bad guys. But, it was, that's it is with movies. The characters were forgettable, of course. Like just children. Life in an orphanage is much different than what I thought it would be. These kids see a lot of action. And, it's just, time out, let me reset. That is, a movie about children playing with a gun is like, I wish they had shown us the atom bomb. I want to know what kind of atomic bomb can make this little briefcase. They never did show it to us. But I'd be very interested. Hopefully they could blow up with it. Kind of skimmed over that. All right. I'm going to turn back to the net, WB50ZL.
All right, thank you, Brenda. Next up, Virginia, NB5F. What do you think about characterization?
I can't say much that hasn't already been said, but I would have to agree with Bill in 5CB. I thought it was pretty entertaining and pleasant and not that hard to figure out. And I didn't have too much trouble telling the main characters apart. So yeah, don't have a whole lot to say there. I thought it was typically Japanese dubbed into English kind of stuff, and it falls into my area of fascination with Japanese kind of cultural differences from us and how actors and characters and people express their feelings, and I find that just fine. So I'll keep it short. MV5F.
All right, thank you, Virginia. Let's see. Owen, you still awake there? You got any comments? KJ5HMU from KE5ICX. Okay, I think he slipped into slumber since we didn't give him much to talk about. Nothing to add. Yeah, I don't know. I actually kind of liked Starman. I thought he was, as I read and discovered that he was considered a good actor. I thought he did fine for what he had to deal with in a role like that. George Reeve, who played Superman in the TV serial series. In the TV series, I think he was unhappy about being typecast in that role. And similar to the Starman thing here, and in his case it ended tragically, but at least with Starman, at least he died hating the role, but I guess he did okay in the end of it. But I thought the character was likable enough especially for kids, and to realize good and bad. Stereotype city on everybody else to be expected, no real depth of character, which you're not going to get in something like this. So that's all I'll say about that. All right, let's see. We've got 14 minutes, so let me see. I think we can get through it. We'll go ahead and start at the top. Technical aspects of the film. Bill, N5BB, go.
Oh, let's see. This is N5BB. Hold on, let me turn down the echoing. Listening in multiple manners. Let's see. What else do I want to say? Special effects. The start of the movie with the Emerald Planet and those weird characters. I don't know. That sure looked pretty weird. It looked, well, I don't know. But it did look like something from the late 50s. I mean, by 10 years later, it would have been just crazy to have something like that. But if they made this originally in the late 50s or early 1960s, well, maybe so. But sure looked weird to me. I agree with the comments about the weird costume. The special effects in the secret lair were pretty weak. The weakest one, the one that I laughed at every time I saw it, was the door opens in the cliff looking out on the ocean. The door opens and the helicopter on a string shakily makes its way into the lair, and then they close the door. But the helicopter is obviously on a little string, and it is really bad. You know, if they take just a little bit more effort, that would have looked a lot better. So they didn't even try to do some of this, special effects very much. And that's the same thing at the very start of the Emerald Planet. I don't think they really tried to make that a really neat looking. That it wasn't key to what they cared about in making the movie, so they didn't bother with it. And he's flying. Well, it's like the early Superman TV movies from the 50s. If you saw those with George, whatever his name was, it was stupid, but all those kind of things were stupid back then. So I don't know. Looked pretty crazy, but what do you say? They all look crazy when they try to do Superman and other super flying people like that back then. So I don't know if I can complain about that. But again, pretty weak. I think there was some music in this, but I can't think of what it was. I can't think of any other big special effects other than, again, the scenes with the large room, with Starman fighting all these people and jumping up and jumping down and jumping up and jumping down, knocking them down, and they came back up and he knocks them down again, and that continues going on. You know, they had weapons, they had guns, they had other things, but I guess they weren't good on Starman, so why did they even bother fighting him? Why didn't they all just run away or something? If they figured out that they can't beat him in a fight, why bother fighting him? I didn't understand that at all. Anyway, that's all I got. N5BB.
All right, thank you, Bill. And I'm going to have to quickly go through the list. We're getting close to the top of the hour. So, Tony, NT5TM, your final thoughts. Go.
Not much to add. I was just always frustrated by how blurry everything seemed to be. NT5TM.
Yeah, I think because the movie went into public domain. I'm pretty sure it's there, even though it's a Tomei production. Okay, next up, KB9SOK. Sean, final comments. Go!
Yeah, this KB9SOK. Yeah, they had, if you downloaded the actual, I think it was the H264, it was a lot clearer than the MPEG 4. So that, because I started out with the MPEG 4, yeah, it was really fuzzy. But outside of that, that's just for future reference on that site. Yeah, I agree with everything Bill said. The helicopter was probably one of the worst ones. Effects on there, I laughed at it. Yeah, the music wasn't particularly great. You know, I guess the sound effects were just so there, yeah, and then yeah, I did find the creatures very strange from the planet because yeah, they all look like robots or some really bad protective gear. But yet Starman didn't need any of that, but they did. So that was a little weird. I found that a little strange. I probably just wanted to throw in the costumes just to add to, so you knew they were aliens. Maybe I don't know. But yeah, now out there, I guess the boat there at the end, it looked more like a sub. Was I guess I'm sure they had that from another movie. So yeah, now out that, I will send it back to Matt. KB9, it's okay.
All right, thanks, Sean. K0FER, Chris, go! K0FER, are you there? Final comments, special effects, whatever you'd like. Okay, I think we lost him. Next, Bill, W5BLT, go ahead.
I like the narrator, and I like the sound that they made when the Starman was flying around. And I could tell it was kind of like a Superman wind sound. Not only it sounded like a thing or whatever. The other thing is, I just had real quick, is I don't think the actor that played Starman likes the costume. Back to you, Tom. W5BLT.
I think it's more like a slide whistle or something, but yeah. And I'm still going to figure out who that darn narrator is. Jay, KG5BZW, your final comments, sir.
KG5BZW. Yeah, I thought those characters that the first just looked like the typical Japanese mascots that are always kind of unsophisticated in design. So I don't know how far back apparently the term that you're yeah. I make sure I'm good enough to say it because I'll bungle it. You're Tara. I'm saying it very hard R when the how Japanese are. Anyway, I don't know how long that's been around, but it looks a lot like that. It was, but then I mean, think about some of the characters that are in a number of Japanese movies that it's kind of they're always a little bit silly, but anyway, I don't know what else that I like cars. I don't know. I think that's more me just being kind of interested in older Japanese culture, just because whatever. Just the curiosity of it. I don't know. Not much else. Okay. Back to Ned. KG5BCW.
All right, thank you, Jade. Next up, Brenda, WB5OZL. Your parting comments, please.
OZL. Well, I always say you can tell it's a low budget when everything's dark, because you don't have to spend money on sets and costumes, or some costumes are not obvious. And in this case, they not only kept it dark, but made it blurry so we could see what they were doing. So, well, that's pretty much all I got to say. I'll keep it off here. WB5OZL, back to that.
Okie dokie. Next up, Virginia, NB5F. Your final comments, please.
Okay, well, seeing as everything is relative, I'm gonna probably be pretty nice. As Sean said, I think it was blurry. The visual effects were pretty terrible. They were, only slightly worse than the old TV Superman show, and they were funny. It's really funny to see, cheesy special effects and visual effects. I actually thought that there were some sequences in this that had some pretty interesting and not too bad cinematography and composition. Black and white is a really good way to look at shot composition, and there were some sequences and composition in here I actually kind of liked, and thought that there was kind of some good editing, and it kept me interested even visually at times. But yeah, there was also a lot of lower contrast, not very good stuff, mostly on the flying scenes and some of the nighttime stuff. But yeah, I actually thought there was some kind of likable stuff in here visually, and didn't just absolutely hate everything about this. And it all is because it's just, I knew it wasn't really aiming to be that great of a movie in the first place. So yeah, I thought it was okay in B5F.
Okie dokie. Thanks all for your comments. Not going to add anything outside of, I thought that I realized that the music, it started and ended very strangely, and it has tracked music that they, had already produced. They'd replaced it for some reason for the U.S. market, so I understand that now. It was just poorly administered and edited, and that was because of the U.S. Version of the film. Other than that, special effects were mediocre, especially for Japanese when we got Godzilla and those effects, which also look like models and things, but done more convincingly than this one. Sometimes it looked like it was hurried, but not too bad, not too terrible, not great, but not that bad either. I don't know, just kind of mediocre Japanese type stuff you would expect from that time period. Okay, this one I'm going to do. Next week's movie is, I've got set up according to the list here, and my list I did a while back, is Saturn III from 1980. I think we did this one a while ago, but it's probably worth doing again. Let me know if you got any ideas. I think I've got some suggestions out there. I got to go back and look and see what they are. Some of them are good, some not so good, so we'll see. But if we can put them in, we will. So next week's movie, Saturn III from 1980, unless somebody comes up with something better or they really don't want to see that film. It's up to you. All right, see you all later. I'm going to watch a little bit of Lost in Space, and I'm going to bed. See you all. Have a good evening. thanks for participation. This is KE5ICX Clear.